Welcome everyone to Voices of the Future, Students on AI in Education. This is an OKLIS virtual session hosted by the Professional Development and Advanced Technologies Committees of COLE, which is the Council for Online Learning Excellence. At the end of this presentation, watch for a survey, which will enable you to earn a digital badge from OSHRI. Sarah Hughes is the co-chair of the Advanced Technologies of COLE and will be moderating this session. I'm going to hand it over to her.
All right, welcome everyone. Okay, so our session today is Voices of the Future, Students on AI in Education. So we have 4 student panelists today that are going to be answering some questions regarding AI and their point of view on things. And then at the end of today's session, we'll have some time to open it up for other questions. So you feel free to drop those in the chat throughout or at the end. Our panelists today, I'm going to introduce them real quick. Everyone who's a panelist, well, I think somebody has. I know Angel has the OneNet background, but everyone else should have a background that looks like this, so that you can just tell who they are. But I'm going to go ahead and give the names just in case. So our first panelist is Zethan Patton. He is from Southeastern Oklahoma State University, and he is a professional pilot major. The next is Trey Bright, Oklahoma City Community College, and his major is biology. Welcome, Trey. We have Jennifer Nelson from University of Central Oklahoma. Major is technical writing. And then we have Angel Bell, Oklahoma City University, strategic communications major. So these are our panelists for the day. I'm going to go ahead and get kicked off. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. We have people watching the chat, and there will also be a time at the end to open if you don't hear the question that you're curious about asked during the panel. Okay, panel members, I'm going to start posing questions. You don't all have to answer everyone, but if you have an answer and you would like to, you can come off mute and go ahead and do that. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. So starting off, can you share a specific instance where AI significantly impacted your learning experience during high school or college? And was this teacher-directed or self-directed? It'll take a minute for us to get used to unmuting and talking. Go ahead.
I could take that question. So as a communications major, AI is kind of partnered with our field a little bit, especially now in the time as it's getting bigger and it's growing. So it is a lot in my school, especially. It is teacher directed, it is encouraged, but there have been times where I used it myself. So for me, I use it as a brainstorming tool. So there was a time where we had an assignment where we had to do a mock advertisement. And I used Notion, ChatGPT, and Trello, which are like administrative assistance type of things. And they helped me organize my ideas. They helped me come up with a concept. They helped me format a script. And yeah, and it was encouraged by my professor as well. I did disclose to him that I did use AI, and then he actually was like, okay, good job. So that's my personal experience.
Anyone else can answer that one?
I have had some professor-led use of AI. I've seen my professors making like handouts using AI, making some PowerPoints using AI. Overall, I haven't been too big of a fan of that. I would say it probably hasn't been a positive impact because it leaves it kind of less directed at what the professor is actually trying to get at. And then I've done some self-directed experience with like trying to make flashcards and things like that. And once again, it's good for like very basic things, very rudimentary things. But then as soon as you're trying to get to a deeper level of understanding, it kind of breaks down or starts repeating itself a lot.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to the next question. Name any personal experiences you have had where your teacher has guided you through the use of AI tools for learning. We kind of just answered this a little bit. Zephan touched on it. But what was your initial thought, and how has that perception changed over time, if it has?
Nope, there we go. I can take this one, or at least the beginning of it. So I am kind of a unique student in my courses. I am a returning student. So this is my second bachelor's. So I did my first bachelor's in 2009 when AI wasn't anything but a plot device in a Hollywood movie. So using it now is actually kind of fun and exciting. And I have a little bit of a military background, so thinking about the pilotness of it all, you know, when autopilot was first introduced and when aviation started to become more automated, the public reaction was to stiff arm it and to be very scared, and you know, you're taking the human out of it. But now we look at it, and if a human gets involved, sometimes there's tragedy, right? So I feel like we're in the beginnings of that stage with AI right now. And one of my teachers, my technical writing professor, actually, and I believe like a leading AI expert in Oklahoma, Dr. Laura Duman, has like introduced a lot of the AI players to me now that I'm, you know, back in school. And so I've got to play with a lot of different AI bots. I tend to like ChatGPT a little bit more. I don't know why. It's just something I lean towards. I have used Claude. I like Perplexity for the search function of it all. But I think my initial reaction was positive. I think it's only grown over time. I've used it in the outside world too, like when I play D&D, and it helps me create my characters and stuff when I don't really quite know all the in-depth rules. But
Thank you. Anybody else on that one?
So I also grew up in a generation where AI was not a thing and it was just like a fictional concept. So when I first got introduced to AI, I returned to school a little later. So when I first got introduced to AI and a professor was saying, hey, you guys can use ChatGPT or you guys can use these AI tools, I was a little bit on the skeptical side, and I was a little cautious when using it because one, I'm different generation. I didn't really know how to use it. And then two, I came from like only hearing negative things about it and how it's going to take over everything. But now that I got more comfortable with it, I would say I am still a little bit on the skeptical side, but I do tend to use it. I use it as more of a calculator because I am still in the notion that it might take our jobs. But I do use AI. I use it sparingly. I use it more as a calculator, but I do understand its necessity, and I am still cautious with it. So.
Thank you, guys. Okay, and so we're kind of going to move into like a learning impacts portion. In what ways has AI helped you better understand or retain complex subjects or concepts?
So I would like to weigh in that the best use of AI that I've found and what has helped me the most is in information retention, in that you can use it as a sort of search engine, like Control F on a Word document. You can find something very quickly. And so I find that using it in this way is likely the most ethical as well.
Yeah. We are going to touch on some ethical considerations as well as we go. So look forward to hearing more about that. Does anybody have anything else on ways it's helped retain, or go ahead?
So I have a minor as well, and it's Asian studies, where I'm legitimately learning new things. And so these are brand new concepts, and they're very large concepts. So what I will do is with my buddy ChatGPT over here, I will upload my notes, my own notes, and only my notes. Maybe the text if it's a PDF. But then I will use it in like a conversational review way, where I will like, hey, you know, prompt me with a question. We'll just like, and I'll talk to it like I would a professor. But I have to, every once in a while, I do ensure that I actually have this sentence, and I'll put it in the chat because I use it so often. And the word midterm can be substituted for anything, but it basically, I'm just ensuring it every once in a while because, you know, it likes to get squirrely, using only my notes that I uploaded. And you can even be more specific and say a date. You know, I want to remove in a conversation, you know, ask me questions, blah, blah, blah. You can do that. And I found it to be very good. So I'll do that if it's a hard subject or it's a very hard topic of the course. You know, I will do it over and over, much like I would have written it out, I don't know, math umpteen years ago now, 2009. So I think I found a way to use it for study purposes while also being careful to not draw upon other sources of information, right? Because then we get into a little dicey area.
Thank you so much. And thanks for dropping that in the chat. Very useful. Okay, next question. Can you discuss any differences that you have noticed in the quality of education you receive with AI compared to traditional methods? I know this one might be a little, we have differing opinions, I'm not sure, but does anybody want to touch on that?
Okay. I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to, okay. So again, as someone who came from the generation pre-AI and who did grow up with traditional learning and research and things on your own, I have noticed, oh, can you hear me okay? Okay. I have noticed sometimes the critical thinking skills are lacking a bit. And I feel like there's an over-reliance on AI in this new education system or this new education generation. It feels like I don't want to say this without like sometimes people are just too reliant on AI nowadays. I feel like there is not many people thinking for themselves. It's more AI voice instead of their own voice, where it could, again, like I said before, it should be used as a tool and not used as the all be all type of thing. So
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I've been given handouts that have made up words on them that were or graphs that lead to nowhere, that were very clearly made by ChatGPT. I've been given ChatGPT exams where most of the answers were B because Chat just failed to randomize it, and things like that. And like, yeah, great, I know all the answers, but at the same time, you know, why am I paying the professor, and what education am I really receiving?
I personally have not seen it from my instructors, thankfully. They are English professors here, and they are almost like, you know, beware the devil of AI. That said, I also work as a copy editor for one of the journals on campus, and I have been seeing a lot of AI use, specifically on reference pages. I'm an APA editor, so it's very obvious when it just has X's for page numbers. Like, okay, one is fine because you're doing it as a placeholder, but every single one, it becomes pretty obvious. And then the formatting, they don't, you know, AI bots don't have the formatting correctly. It's very minuscule and nitpicky there, right? So like I said, I have not seen it yet from my educators, but these articles I'm getting are from doctors of education in different schools around the world, really. But so that is a little concerning. But I also I try to give them a little grace where I can, since we are not yet in a. I think we'll get to it later, but one of the ways I think we could fix the problem is to establish state or nationwide standards, right? Was a la driver's licenses or pilot aviation, like a checklist that everybody's got to know of all these things, right? But that's a big problem. So to give them a little grace, if this is the last thing on their plate, and they have students and stuff, maybe the reference pages is where they feel like they can shuck it to AI and see what happens, but then not checking that is where I do hold them to account a bit, right? But So that's where I've seen it personally from educators, not mine own, though.
I'm glad we kind of have all four of our panelists today are different majors. I think that helps give us a little bit of variation as far as just some different insight. We are going to move into the ethical considerations. I think that's a good bridge to go ahead and move into that portion. I have a few questions for that. Again, if you all have questions that you would like to hear from a student perspective, feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat. We have people moderating that. But the next question is going to be, what steps should educators and institutions take to ensure ethical AI usage in education?
The first step really should take place in the more complex courses. And what I mean by complex courses is things that you would have to spend upwards of 10 hours a week studying for. Things like calculus or the higher sciences. And this is due to just the impact of what it will be whenever the next generation, comes and all of the professionals in a field are relying on a chatbot to do the core functions of their role rather than having that information themselves. And we had touched on how technology will advance and we will have to get used to these things and release some amount of control. But I think that where in the past the control was more of a physical sense, steam engines removing the need for people driving ropes and things of this. With AI, it is removing the need to think about a problem without having to reason a solution for yourself and for a community around you. So whenever it is wrong and it encounters a problem that it has yet to endure, we will not have the means to surpass it on our own because of a lack of, complex training of the mind.
This question specifically, right? What can educators and institutions do to ensure ethical AI usage? Right now, it certainly feels, for us in my school, it feels a little department specific instead of college specific, instead of university specific, right? Like there needs to be an actual guidance coming down from high, from on high, the powers that be. Every AI use statement in a syllabus right now, in all of my syllabi, are not the same. So I feel like it starts with standardization. Standardization for students implies cohesion of leadership, right? So if the students are all reading something from each different professor, as they are in my personal case, you can use it for this much, you can use it for this many percentage, you have to do this, it has to look like this. I don't want you to use it at all for nothing. Don't even brainstorm with it. Like there are some, and I have 4 syllabi, they all run that gamut. So where is the usage for the school and as a whole? I'm confused. My department even a little bit confused because I'm only in the English department, so those are all syllabi from one department. And we are on the on-ramp to this new technology. We're in the crawl stage, or maybe not even there yet, right? So I feel like if as a whole human, maybe, if this is the way we're gonna go, and it seems that maybe we are, right? Then there needs to be guidelines to follow. Otherwise, we will get into where we are now. Like, well, what are you doing? And which is great. These are marvelous discussions, but 10 years down the line, they hopefully are not still happening. So.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I think looking at the question, something very practical that can be done is more in-class writing and use of things like Google Docs that keep a log of everything you type rather than just submitting a PDF or submitting a Word doc. Like I know a lot of the English professors here at Southeastern, they do now mandate that you submit a Google document because it will actually keep track of everything you're typing, so you're not just copying and pasting one big block of text, because that's obviously a big red flag for AI usage. And I think that's really important too, because even outside of like the English department, because this is not like I picked the most hands-on STEM major of aviation because I didn't want to write essays. But I'm very aware that I'm at a university. Like this is a higher education degree. I'm not at a trade school. So I should be held to a higher level of education, a higher standard. And so when I write an essay, I think part of that isn't just, do I know the material, right? It's, can I format my thoughts? You know, can I use correct grammar, things like that. So I think it's a good thing to keep an eye on how students are writing their essays and really cracking down on, this is how we will ensure that you're not using AI, because this is, you know, I don't want my degree to just be another high school diploma. I want it to be a higher education degree. I want to be held to a higher standard. So I would recommend professors use things like that, or in-class writings to more crack down on AI usage.
Great. Thank you guys for that. Next question is going to be, what concerns do you have regarding data privacy and security when using AI tools in education?
No, okay. I think it like when you're at the like old school drinking fountains, right? Like how clean did you really expect that to be? Probably not the most sanitary thing on a school playground, right? I'm not sure I ever saw them get cleaned other than rain. So I think the expectation of privacy is setting oneself up for disappointment and rage and anger and scandal if you really use it wrong, right? So understand these large language models. Well, what's the large coming from, right? It's the coming from us. It's coming from the users. It's coming from all the input, the large number of words that are going into this thing. At one point, it was created to do so. Now it's just getting pumped full of words. You know, God knows how many words during what I just said, right? Like, so you're priming the system essentially to give you kind of what you want, but you're priming the system with human data, your data. We can't expect it to be sanitized within that. We're only going to conglomerate it. You might get hidden within the numbers, right? But you know, we've all seen how much data can be broken down into minuscule numbers equal people. As far as education goes, I feel like there needs to be checks like that for that big copy paste. It's very tempting to do so if you use ChatGPT or somebody to like help you brainstorm and help you like, okay, and this is what, because if you're not like, you don't even have to ask it, but it'll break down into each paragraph says this, each paragraph says this. It is very hard to think outside that box once it presents you with that box. So like I can have I have an answer for the future visions, but we'll get there. But I think like kind of like what Zephan was saying, like a guided use, like almost like a class. Like we used to have to take a typing class. Why not an AI class? You know, I don't know. I think there are ways to educate the students.
Yeah, I really agree with a lot of that. And I think a really specific concern I have is that I know for a fact professors are using AI to check whether something was written by AI, like feeding something to some random website that says it's an AI checker. And then that almost certain, I mean, everything comes with a cost. So they are using my essays to feed back into AI and using my intellectual property. That's probably my biggest personal concern, is that my own work is going to be fed in because professors are putting my essays into AI checkers.
I agree with Jennifer that there needs to be some type of self-awareness when you're using platforms like this. Like you have to know that your data, or you have to expect at least that your data is going to be used and reused. For example, there has been times where we do have discussions, and I'm going through the discussions just seeing which one I should reply to, and they're literally the same like discussion, same paragraph, just reused, reflipped, just saying two different things. Maybe the wording's formatted differently, or maybe the name's different or something. But AI is basically using all the things we're saying, all the things we're feeding into it, and they're just reusing and recycling all of that. And I feel like there just has to be some type of self-awareness that your word, your image is just going to keep getting reused, recycled, and just, I guess, flushed down the line.
Okay, next question. How do you feel about the potential for AI to introduce biases in educational content and assessment? Have you experienced or observed any instances of this?
So again, coming from that past generation, I have experienced biases. I forgot the question before, but this kind of go with the question of I think the ethical question, I think it goes with that. Where there are professors, I want to say like the newer professors, where they have a student, if they write really well, or if they use M dashes or they use certain things, then automatically they're like, that's AI. They don't do any double checking, they don't do anything, they just go straight to accusatory, like that's AI. And I feel like that's completely unfair. There has been a time where that happened to me, and I feel like again, this goes with the class. Maybe professors also need to go through a class on how to like I guess catch AI, how to just know what AI looks like, what AI sounds like, and what just a traditional student sounds like. And I guess this goes back with the data, but AI is literally copying us. So I feel like there's no sure way. Which so yeah, I think it's unfair. I don't really like it. Maybe there does need a class that needs to be met, or yeah, had no.
I agree with that. I think it would be a great idea for professors to have some specific training and education on what AI sounds like, because I know my friends in the English department, they know, they can read it and instantly pick up on the tells. And, I think everyone should be given that opportunity. And I think as far as introducing bias goes, the main thing I've seen from AI is that it likes to tone everything down. So like if you have an opinion on a work or something, you're writing an essay and you have an opinion, basically, if you're working with AI on it, it's just going to slowly walk back your opinion, no matter what it is. And so I guess out of trying to like appease everybody, I don't know the thought process behind it, but as that's the only bias I've seen is actually a lack of bias, that it's just constantly trying to water down everything to be less meaningful and more just words.
Okay. Okay, so we're moving from ethical considerations into the future vision portion. Do you have anything else on ethical considerations? Feel free to still share that as I go into the next question. If you have questions, again, you put those in the chat or wait until the end. Future vision. So what skills or knowledge do you believe students will need to effectively navigate an AI-enhanced educational environment in the future?
A crucial skill that students need always, and not just with AI, but more so as we get closer and closer to this information overload, is patience, and the ability to recognize when it would be better to sit down and look for the information yourself rather than rely on something to instantly give you gratification. I feel that as we are in an age of Google searches, not having to stoop through the libraries to find every single citation for a paper, this has become a very positive thing for us because we can save time doing this. And so you can have a similar vision towards AI, but the biggest difference comes from the energy usage in which AI uses compared to these Google searches, and how impactful it is to the environment as well. And so students having the patience to not rely on these things that can be very damaging if overutilized, I think would be the biggest net positive.
I agree with Trey. I feel like patience is a big skill students need to have with navigating the future of AI. I also feel like critical thinking, reading analysis, and comprehension skills are also things students need to like skills they need to have for the future. Like again, I feel like most students, especially this newer generation, they're overly relying on AI. There have been I know people personally, I know classmates personally who have just copy paste lesson plans into AI, submitted into AI, and sometimes AI doesn't understand like the critical things of the questions or the human feel of the questions. Like maybe there's something you need to know a little bit more. And they'll just go ahead, submit that paper, and the teacher will be like, this is literally nothing I asked for. Because the student didn't, not saying this is a better way to cheat, but the student didn't take time to read, understand the question, and know exactly what to ask. Um, so I just feel like those are basic skills to go in with AI. Just knowing what's being asked, knowing what to ask, knowing how to ask AI questions in a, I guess, cohesive way and not just like rambling at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with that, that students are losing a lot of the basic skills that they're giving away to AI. And I feel like that's just a very core part of education, is being able to format your own thoughts, not just come up with them and then give it to the AI to say back to you, but to be able to think through things deeply and then demonstrate that you thought through them by writing. And I think Jennifer made a great comparison about autopilot, where it's like, obviously when people get real jobs, they're going to be using AI, right? But the point of the university is it's like a training environment. And it would be like, okay, we're going to go up today and practice steep turns. And then you just turn on the autopilot and have it do a steep turn for you. Well, you're not really learning anything, you know?
You want to go? No, okay. Uh, so taking your students need to think critically and have patience and all that kind of stuff, right? There's a couple. I think this has a couple leaves to the flower. One, students learn. In my personal experience, learn most and best when they trust their professor, right? Obviously. So, just saying AI is, in your opinion, or this is our AI policy and that's it. If there's not going to be an AI class, there's comp 1, comp 2, there's beginning English classes, right? So like how about an exercise or an assignment even that walks them through the steps of using an AI to build a paper and see what that looks like and see how much work that actually takes to get something good. And not that you want to teach them how to do that, right? But like that much thought you put into teaching that AI to give you that's the exact amount of thought you need to do that paper, and you just need to write it down. Now that second step is to learn how to be patient, but also how to be uncomfortable. In order to like the greatest payoffs come with a little bit of stress. I think especially these days, students and kids and younger people, we're instant gratification, right, and patience. So we also have forgotten how to be uncomfortable, how to stress properly for the rewards and for the payoff, and not in a burnout way, but in like a mental. There's whole scientific studies about how stress is actually good, minuscule amounts for rewards, right? So like if we can teach the students, and I have it written down, if we can, how to have them critically think out and try various agents and bots to find the best one that they want. My professor likes Claude. I like ChatGPT, and then have them get to a coherent set of papers, right? And like then in an explanation in their own words, which you will then have the like a comparison between the AI words and their like in it, like have them tell you like how they got to this. What are the prompts they used? That's kind of like it's a research study too, so they have to keep all this track of all this as they go. So it's I think we can teach students how to use this properly while also perhaps even teaching ourselves as well, I'm not an educator, but educators, right? So I think a good product can be obtained if the AI is given the correct prompting. That would teach them then how to go out and use it in the real world, right? And me, I'm pointing over here because that's my work computer. I am actually a technical writer for Leidos, and we have an AI in agent, like an in computer. Iris is her name. So like I have to use this thing on a constant basis, and she's very not nice. She's not friendly. She's not user friendly. So like to get to know how to use that for the future, like if that's going to be the future world, like have them learn it now in a risk-free environment, semi-risk-free, right? With a parachute that they can land in for safety. Sorry, that was rambling, but there's a way to use it without being scared of it, I think. In a way to use it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'll stop talking.
Sorry, I was not trying to rush you. I saw Sarah get off mute, so I thought she was trying to rush the conversation a little. But I kind of agree with you in like but wording it in a different way. I feel like students need to have confidence in their work and confidence in what they're doing. And I feel like that's why there's overuse of AI usage because people aren't confident, students especially aren't confident in their work. They're not, I'm not trying to discredit the professors, but a lot of students are not confident in what they're learning, which triggers them to go use AI because they feel like AI knows more than they do, or they feel like AI can just simply put it in better words than they can. So if we do make students confident in what they're saying, and what they're learning and what they're doing, that also might not stray them away from AI, but make them use AI in a more useful way, I guess, not to use it all. Also, I want to say as well, I feel like students need to learn people skills as well for AI. I know it sounds like it doesn't match, but as a person who is I'm in a communications field, I want to go into PR, and you do have to appeal to people. You have to appeal to people's emotions. And when you have AI do everything for you and write all your like PR releases or write all your like ad work or whatever for you, you're not going to be able to appeal because AI doesn't know how we feel. So you're not going to be able to appeal to that emotional side. And I am seeing from students like in my class, I feel like also because of that, they're a reflection of that. They also don't know how to appeal to people. They also don't know what to say or how to tap into people's emotions because all they know is what they're learning through this AI tool. So.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add, but I did want to just circle back and highlight what Jennifer said about that it takes almost as much work to make a good essay with AI as it does to just write it. Because like I know English professors and their number one takeaway when someone writes with AI isn't like, oh, they didn't put the work in, it's they didn't follow the prompt, it's not formatted correctly, things like that. Like you have to work hard just to get what you want out of it, even if you're using AI. So that's a very good point.
Really good discussion. We're circling up on our last two questions that I have written. We have had a lot come in the chat, so just fair warning for that. This is just additional insight. So what advice would you give to teachers who are hesitant to incorporate AI into their classroom?
Do parents think their kids aren't cussing at school? Right? Like they're using it, guys. Like in whatever way that they are using it, they're using it. Small, big, large, small, like you might as well talk about it. So You know, like I was cussing up a storm on the third grade playground. My mom didn't know. So, you know, it's that kind of an attitude.
What I encourage our educators to do is to never use hypocrisy, in that whenever they are using AI in the classroom for whatever use that they do, as Jennifer said, expect the student to do it as well. Do not scrutinize against them when they do, and have fairness in your heart whenever you take judgments against them. But please use it sparingly. I would like my educators to use as much as their brain as I have to use for mine to get through the class that I'm paying for.
Basically, what I would say to educators is teach them, let them use it. I think Renee in the comments, they said that the industry is using it. The industry is using it. So it's best to teach them now while they're in school, rather than just go out into the world and just be clueless and just second guessing everything. I would say use it ethically. Teach them how to use it as a tool. I think I said this like repeatedly, and not just as like the whole process, but use it.
Uh, show them how else you can use it, right? Like show them where else in life you can use it outside the classroom. If you're gonna use it for big thinking things, like take it out to make your life, use it for what it's designed. Like make your life easier. I have this in the pantry. What can I make with it? Like boom. Because now those recipe sites are hideous and they're torturous to get through, right? Like just pop it into ChatGPT or whoever, and they'll give you what you need to do. Like that's a great way to use it. Building a D&D character, that's a fantastic way to use it. Kind of like you have to do your own research, then you have to talk to it, then you have to, so like show them how else they can use it in life, and then encourage them to keep it on the outside. You have your cell phone. We let you bring it into class, but we don't let you use it in class, right? We love that you have a social media account. We love that you have friends, but you don't do that here. Keep it on the outside. This is how you can do it. And then we're going to show you. But this is what it looks like when we see it in school. And trust me, and then perhaps all the teachers say, in fact, all my teachers say, we know what it looks like. Show us. Take the names off, do what you can. I don't know the HIPAA rights or whatever the equivalent is in the education, right? But like show them, give them evidence of what that looks like and how similar 5 pages look, or five papers on one topic look, right? So like I'm sure you can find that, but sometimes they need to be walked through the maze with a handheld. So if they can, like, there's fun ways to use it that are not educational, and I think those are a lot more fun and show them the more fun. Like boring, it's boring writing a paper, but if you create a D&D character, like that's a blast.
I think the hypocrisy point from Trey was really good, because it's always, in my experience, the professors that have the strictest policies on AI and, I'll fail you, I'll make sure you get expelled. Those kind of rah-rah professors are always the ones that are very clearly using AI for their material. And I'm like, how am I supposed to respect the rules you're giving me if you don't? So I think that was a very good point.
Okay, how has AI influenced your career aspirations or your future educational goals, if it has?
Oh my goodness. Every field that you turn to is being touched by AI in some way, both good and bad. And in the particular field that I'm going into, which is the environmental sciences with geology as a focus, a lot of that has already been affected by AI. You would in the past have to have somebody go and do inspections on the sort of soil properties to see what exactly is made up in these areas, and now that whole process has been made much faster, since you can use an AI computer to analyze the substance first, and it can kind of give you an answer. You get to reduce a lot of that testing. And so while that's amazing, it does reduce the manpower. So we're kind of at a similar point as the scribes were whenever the printing press came around, we're having a sort of tipping point where we're going to have people that will have to, instead of being the ones doing the job, they will have to maintain the machine doing the job. And whenever that comes to going into a career where before you weren't really expecting that, it is a big change to make mentally, but it is one that you'll have to do nonetheless.
I will say I am honestly scared. I'm terrified right now. Um, AI is taking a lot of entry level jobs for people in communications or arts or graphic design, and it is very scary. I actually went to a conference where a PR firm basically said in so many words that he didn't need a graphic designer, a person in PR, a marketing agent, or anything because he has AI and he's a one-man band. So for me, I am scared, and I feel like people in my field are saying too many times you need to work with AI and work as a partner, but how can I work with the enemy when it's taking my job? But that's not how I feel. I'm scared.
I mean, if you actually want to know how AI is going to affect the aviation industry, talk to someone smarter than me. I'm 21 years old. Don't take my word. But as far as my concerns, I would totally see, especially in freight and cargo operations, AI being the first step towards single pilot in the cockpit operations. And that is very scary for me because that's going to cut down the amount of pilots that they need by half. So that is a pretty huge concern for my industry.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on another thing that the CEO of OpenAI, in reference to AI sweeping out entry level jobs, said maybe your job's not a real job in the first place. So that's another fear I have.
Okay. All right, so we are going to go to a portion of time left for people to ask questions. I'm going to go into the chat, back into the chat. I know I have other people watching the chat too. I'm just going to start with one, and if y'all see ones that I skip, let me know. Kristen asks, as an instructor of general education courses, it's not just essays, it's all assignments in general. The struggle is when you know students are copy pasting from AI, but in reality, you cannot prove it like you can plagiarism. Where does that leave us in teaching and how to talk with students about it? We cannot accuse them because no proof. So thoughts on how to work with students on this?
Oh, I would
Go for it, man.
say, like I kind of mentioned on earlier, I know a lot of classes are online, so you can't do in-person writing, but like I said, having at least key logs on, even if it's not an essay, something, if it's essay questions or something like that, you can at least see, or even putting more assignments in proctored exam format would probably help. Um, those would be my thoughts, maybe.
Um, my solutions are time consuming, unfortunately, I feel like, because they would involve that conversational aspect with the student, right? Like, you can probably prove they didn't do it if you talk to them, like, hey, okay, so I see here you say this, so what else, and have them talk you through their paper or whatever that assignment is. But to do that for a class of X number of students, right? Like, ugh. Another way would pop quiz style, I guess, maybe to do that same method in like a 5 students a day kind of format. But then again, like, what is that? I don't know, right? Like, then you get into like the purpose of college and all that philosophical things. But really pouring in a lot of more time, I think, on the professor's part to individualize each person. Or if it's a problematic student, then I suppose that is a way to deal with that one student, right? Is to have a conversation about each assignment until they get it. Unfortunately, okay, well, then how did you get to this point? Where's your sources? What are your research? And not in a disciplinary, you're in trouble, but like in a conversational, hey bro, let's talk about this, like let me help me understand how we got here. I mean, all the students always going to feel like they're in trouble, but yeah. I and then of course then there perhaps there's just like an exception or acceptance that some students are just there because they feel like they have to be. Like I certainly felt that way the first time when I was going through when I graduated in 09. Like it was the thing I needed to do to get into the military and be an officer. That was it. Like I literally felt like I was handcuffed to the desk. So like anything to get me through that 4 years faster, I probably would have taken. Unfortunately, that is, and again, we are in the world of instant gratification and the way of easy life now, hard life later, right? So if we can teach them to embrace the hard life now and the hard choice now and the easy life later, that'd be great. But it's a life lesson.
So I actually had this conversation with my philosophy teacher, and as he said, cheating has always been a thing. Professors just have to evolve with the cheating. So what my professors do, for example, they do every quiz in-house now. So we do blue books, we do the old binder tests where you have a binder in between you and then you take your test. If we do have to do anything online, it's through Proctor. So they Proctor you us. And I did see something else. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun. Someone said something, does disclosure help? No, they put it in they do put it in syllabus that if we do use AI, it's like instant like expulsion. It's an instant F. People still use AI. So I just feel like you just have to evolve with the cheating, evolve with the students, use Proctor, maybe do more in-house quizzes or do the Google Drive thing. So.
Okay, another question from the chat. Some of you mentioned the problems you've seen with non-standardized AI policies in courses. From your perspective, when a course has an AI policy that feels unfair or fair, does that affect your trust in the instructor or the university's academic integrity system or other university policies?
I think very similar to what we've been talking about in the sense that they're going to use AI whether you allow it or not. I think most of the classmates that I know that use AI, it doesn't matter to them what the policy says. And I think we obviously should strive for clarity, but most students have their own opinion and their own feeling on how much they should use it, and they pretty much don't care what the professor has to say.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and repeat that question.
Okay. Some of you mentioned the problems you've seen with non-standardized AI policies in the courses. From your perspective, when a course has an AI policy that feels fair or unfair, does that affect your trust in the instructor or the university's academic integrity?
So kind of doubles back down on like it tastes a little bit like hypocrisy, right? If we have and it comes from the lack of standardized rules, at least for my university, right? The school cannot expel someone because the school does not have a policy. So why are you telling me that there is a risk of expulsion? That doesn't make sense to me. Show me the rules. Show me where it is, because until that point, someone that gets expelled, they're going to come right back, and then there's going to be a precedent in law. So like we need, like, honestly, like if we want to CYA, right? Like there needs to be a policy, handwritten, drafted up, stamped, whatever, signed by the president, dean, XYZ of every single university and or state. And then you get into politics there, but like the threat of expulsion right now means nothing. It is not the sword of Damocles because there are a million strings above it, right? That's not going to fall on my head. There's no reason it should fall on my head, even if I do use it. So right now I feel like the students, like, and unfortunately there's going to have to be patient zero somewhere, right? Someone's going to have to get expelled for AI use, and then that will snowball. But hopefully that whoever does, that school has a policy that they can fall back upon. But, those are what ifs. Right now I feel like the threats don't matter So that's why students are just like, I'm going to use it. And as we have seen, they're very hard to detect short of just saying this is AI, right? So
So I feel like this kind of goes back with our conversation about everyone in school needs to be on the same page. Because my school actually does have a policy. They group AI with plagiarism, but again, you have teachers who are like encouraging you to use it. So I do feel like it is a bit of hypocrisy, and it does make me look at like the whole school a little differently. Because when I did go in for orientation, they do tell you right in orientation, AI use is up there with plagiarism. AI use, that's you can get expelled, you can lose your degree, you can do all this stuff. But then you have your teachers who are like, yeah, use AI, or yeah, use that ChatGPT bot, or yeah, use that for brainstorming. So it's a bit confusing. I think everyone needs like the university and professors need to get on the same like playing field so we won't be confused, because it does leave that bit of confusion. But I do think it's hypocritical, and sometimes when I have one teacher that's like, no, you can't use AI, or another teacher that's like, yeah, you can use AI, and I'm just looking like, well, you guys are both confusing me, I'm gonna use it anyway. So but yeah.
Okay, another question from the chat. This one specifically says, Jennifer, if you happen to see this, writer to writer, I do creative writing as a hobby. What is your take on using AI as a reviewer? I often use it as a peer reviewer to give me feedback, recommend me slight changes, just as I would with a human friend. I live in a rural area, so there aren't many writers near me to rely on.
I certainly empathize with you for sure. I like to go back to well, this will be very revealing. Why not? Fan fiction days, right? So like there's a community out there of writers for you to find, and somebody will just volunteer to be what we used to call a beta reader, a proofreader, right? And they'll do that for you, and they'll do that for free. That's hard to find again, because of that nuclearized place. But I have been encouraged because I've done the same thing, right? I've fed it a draft through ChatGPT, and it cleans it up, and it's the problem of getting outside that box once it does a suggestion, because we are very suggestible beings, and our brains, like to choose the easiest way through things. Sometimes like it's a little bit difficult to get outside that. So I certainly would encourage Reddit, writers groups, proofreading groups. If you have a bookstore, they love reading, like or I mean, connect with a fellow professional in your field and then just be each other's like proofreading buddies. That's kind of the same idea of a beta reader. I do certainly empathize with that though. It's kind of like, how do you make friends as an adult? So be brave. Everybody wants what you want too. So like, just if you go out there and be brave, somebody's gonna be like, oh, thank God somebody asked me the question. Somebody else wants to do the same thing you want to do. So just tradesies.
Okay, this is one of the questions I missed earlier. It says, how could students overcome AI hallucinations? Thoughts on that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How could students overcome AI hallucinations? I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm assuming that's like the whole TikTok Kendra thing, that I'm in love with my therapist thing. When people build a relationship with their AI is what I'm assuming that is.
Is that what that means? Oh.
I'm pretty sure
It's
it's like
talking
a.
about data. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm not
No,
sure.
you'll say it better than me.
Meaning like AI kind of makes up data sometimes. It hallucinates what the real information is.
Okay. Well, the question everything, right? So like proofreading, never trust but verify. We used to say in the military, always trust but verify. I like to, when ChatGPT gives me a date, I'll either take that date and Google it, or I'll just be like, wasn't it on this day? And be like, oh, you're right. And if it doesn't, oh, you're right, and just swaps the date, well, then I have zero faith in that date, unless I know that date by heart. So give them, again, walk them through an example. Give them a hard set. What is a date you know by heart of Super Bowl event or whatever? You know, like my generation would have been the Justin Timberlake Super Bowl halftime disaster, right? Like that's a specific date. If ChatGPT plays around with it, well then show them. Show them. You know, sometimes they just need to be shown. Like this is not real. And you know it's not real because you lived it. So, give them facts. Give them hard facts that they can hold in their hands and be like, wait a minute. So
I agree with Jennifer on that. I feel like it's just like anything, research it yourself. And then if you find out you had a different answer from what chat had out or whatever, or from what chat had, tell chat that they were wrong. There have been countless times where I'll like ask chat something, I asked chat about something about the government shutdown, and it gave me like completely false information, a different president, all this stuff. And I literally told chat, like, I think you're wrong. I didn't even say I think you're wrong. I said you are wrong. And I just gave them the correct information, and they'll just flip and they'll, navigate to that. Just do your own research with anything. Do your own research. And if you want to fix your chat, just tell them you were wrong. Just go with that.
Okay. Two of you mentioned being bothered by instructor use while requiring students not to use AI. Is there any room for consideration on the instructor having developed the critical thinking process in their learning already and now working smarter versus the student shortcutting the learning process, having not already proven themselves in learning?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I shouldn't notice that they're using AI, right? If I'm noticing, then it's sloppy. Like when I get a handout that has a graphic that has made up florp on it, right? Like they obviously didn't even check the work. So that's more my concern. I mean, I think hypocrisy is a concern to an extent, but I also understand that they already know the material, and so using AI as a tool is more reasonable for them than it is for me. So I can understand that perspective, but really it's not hypocrisy about AI usage, it's hypocrisy about laziness that really bothers me.
Sorry, I'm scanning for questions now.
while you're
Give me
looking,
time. Yep.
Sarah, my technical writing professor, Dr. Duman, she allows, you know, a certain like 10% or something of AI per paper if you want. And if you do, you must submit a separate piece of paper saying, this is how I used AI. This is what I did to use AI. This is the prompts I gave it. This is the engine that I used. And so honestly, that document sometimes becomes much longer than the assignment. So, you know, then you kind of get a realization like, oh, wait, why didn't I just do the damn assignment myself, right? So like, uh, require the output from AI. I don't know what that means.
Do you have to show what the chat said?
Oh, yes. Well, so the assumption is if it's in the paper and it's in red, then it's output from the chatbot. If you use it to help you think or you use it to help you create an image, then you are inputting this is what I told it I wanted to talk about, and these are like the highlights because sometimes it'll give you bullet points of what you talked about that day. So she'll want like the conclusion statement of like all the but oftentimes that's also in that paragraph too. So it's double of the information, right? You're just being repetitive of yourself, and it's like how many times do you want to type the same thing? But you use AI, and if you're disclosing it and everything's quote legal, you're typing the same thing quite a bit versus once or twice, rough draft and stuff.
Okay. Do you think some degrees should not use AI in the initial learning?
Can you repeat that again? I didn't hear the last word.
Do you think some degrees should not use AI in the initial learning? Maybe like I'm assuming maybe like in the initial phase of basically just like no AI in this specific discipline. I know all of you have different majors. Do any of you feel like that applies for your specific major? I mean, I
I
think
would
we've
def
talked a little bit, but
I would definitely say like Comp 1 and Comp 2 obviously should use it less. Like at that point, your formatting and grammar is the challenge. So, if you're writing a essay in a 4,000 level course and your professor's like, yeah, I don't care. I mean, I just need to make sure you understand it. That's one thing, but I think obviously for gen eds and especially the compositions, it's like the name is composition. If you don't know how to compose, then you shouldn't pass the class.
Really, I'm of the opinion that none of the disciplines should require AI use, but in the question of if a specific one shouldn't allow it, I feel that if you were to scrutinize on one, it would be unfair not to do the same for all others in a field as this. If you're going to uh, force one to use it, then you have to instigate on all of them. But really, as he had said, Comp 1, the main issue is your own ability to create it. And I feel like that is for all the classes. And that AI should just be a tool for whenever you get into the workforce to expedite your experience that you had back in college with the mathematics they had to do or accounting, so on and so forth. Really, I feel like that would be the best use of such technology.
guys. Okay. Um, Concerns. If we are concerned about the energy/environmental effects of using AI, why would we have students use the tool for useless or just for fun purposes? That was a little bit from earlier.
I feel that our society as a whole here on this Western hemisphere of the world has leaned more and more towards entertainment coming over our concerns for our surroundings. I mean, we did nuclear tests nearby towns in the 50s. I think that's a good enough display of our feelings towards short fun. And so this is no different. This is just a new form of us damaging our world for a quick bit of fun and never really noticing the repercussions of it immediately. But you can ask someone that is a bit older now, and they'll tell you that times have changed quite a bit. There are people that are alive now that had grandparents that grew up in stagecoaches, and they can tell you of how our seasons have changed, how Tornado Alley drifts farther to the east, and if we continue on the path of environmental endangerment like we have in the past with Lake Michigan, how we would dump refrigerators and oil drums and all of this in there, if we were to do something similar with AI, where we don't really think about the consequences first and we just have our fun, and then later on, whenever we have drained a few lakes for the cooling material, we'll be a bit more sad about it. And I would hate to see that happen again whenever we have history to already learn from.
I really hate to bring up whataboutism, but I feel like with the anger towards AI, I do understand AI is hurting our water supply. But a lot of other things are damaging the world too, such as like cars, radiation, all of that, just even computer usage. What like clothes, or like I mean, there's so many things damaging the world. I feel like we can't pick or choose exactly what we need to stop doing. It's gonna be an all or nothing type of thing, and I really hate to be that person to be like, what aboutism? But it is, what about this other thing? So
And
Okay, go ahead, Trey.
you make a very good point with that. And with that, we can use that to tackle those other initiatives and not just go after one source of pollution, but go after the others as well, instead of just throwing down our means of changing, instead of just saying, oh, this is it, and get complacent. We could do something, and maybe in 50 years we'll still have a bit of grass to smile at.
Okay, for taking an AI class, do we think this should happen K through 12 computer classes and or higher education classes?
Okay, so I saw this question. I thought about it. Yes. Both, right? So because there are different levels and different kinds, right? So like I guess it would depend on the high school's intention. If it's just to teach them that AI exists, maybe not, right? They're gonna play with it. I mean, it's already it's on our phones. We have Siri, we have Spotify has an AI device now that tons of people are using, right? It's more than just the things that we're talking about here. AI is in a ton of different places, so we are experiencing it on a daily basis. Kids, they're born with these things in their hand. They might not even realize it, right? So part of acknowledging that there is an issue to solve is that there is just the recognition that there is something to do, right? There's something not right. That could be high school. I think it maybe just like a quarter of high school, senior year. But then in college, definitely a quarter if it's a quarter system or semester. If it's truly in depth, I mean, I think it could just be a block 1 course that's required, maybe. At least that's how they do it in my school. For the first 8 weeks, an AI course, and this is what the school does, and just as it pertains to the school. Right, because they're gonna figure out how to use AI within that, but we care about how they use it as far as students and educators. Yeah, absolutely is digital literacy standards. In order to get to K through 12, though, then I don't know enough about school politics, but I believe that's a state thing as opposed to a university, which is a little bit more nuclear and able to instill those kind of policies. Versus, well, I mean, a state university is different, but I don't know enough. Yeah, absolutely. Digital literacy should encompass AI use 100%. I think the teachers need to become the experts. And these questions that we're discussing now answered before we do have a class in K through 12, maybe. We just need more experience with it.
I actually disagree. I feel like AI should just strictly be for higher education schools. I feel like maybe we can learn ethics of AI when you're in K through 12, not necessarily tackling the tool yet, just knowing like I guess ethics of AI, using the ways you can use it, using when to use it, using right or wrong. Because I do feel like AI goes with the critical learning thing. Because I've seen someone on TikTok say they can't even write a 1 paragraph essay without AI, and she was a senior in high school. And I do understand, yes, they're going to use it anyway, but let them use it on their own terms, not necessarily in school. When I was school, we had applications blocked. We had like Instagram, social media blocked, so you can easily block AI tools, and you can make it, you do it in school or you don't do it at all type of thing. But I think probably learning like the general information of AI, history of AI, and then ethics of AI in like K through 12, yes. But then when you get to higher education, that's when you actually sit down and learn how to use AI. Like again, this goes with, I learned art in high school, but I learned graphic design in college. So it should just kind of be something like that.
Okay, what assignment parameters do you think make, okay, this kind of, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but what assignment parameters do you think makes assignments more AI proof? Do y'all have anything else on that? I know we've talked about doing in-person stuff. Any other thoughts on that before we move to the last question that I currently have? Anything else on that? Okay. This says, also, I understand the need for everyone to be on the same page on syllabi policies for using AI. My question is, how do we balance that need with also allowing professors flexibility? I think AI usage in classrooms depends on subject area. For instance, computer science would require AI usages as that discipline pertains to AI. So basically the question is, how do we balance that need with also allowing professors flexibility? Policy versus flexibility, I suppose, which I think we have covered. Anybody have anything else on that?
I mean, I don't, perhaps maybe this is a better question for a teacher. I don't quite know. But I'm sure there exists instances where there are policies, right? And then the teacher has a little bit of flexibility. Like, we are not recreating the entire wheel. We're just recreating the inner part of it, right? We have the shape. So like, I feel like there are answers to be found with taking something and just looping it around and thinking outside the box, sort of spiraling it into working with you for AI, you know, like, and that might just be a little bit more nuclear for a case by case basis. But I do think that the beginning of finding that case by case basis is starting with like an overarching use policy and guidance of that use.
Okay, that is all the questions that I have from the chat. If anyone, we have a few more minutes before Crystal wraps up for us. Does anyone want to come off mute and ask a question, or any last minute questions in the chat, or any that we might have missed? I'll give everyone a second to do that.
Thank you, Sarah, for providing this space for, you know, students to express their interest and fears of using AI, as well as and of course for professors to hear us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. We're really thankful that you have all come and offered your perspective. I do think it's important to have the student perspective. We have done something like this where it's been, you know, Laura Duman has spoken, you know, like people who really know AI and who are in higher education. So I think it's important that we also have students as well. Okay, Crystal, I'm going to turn it back over to you for the closing.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This was excellent. I am dropping in the chat right now the survey. If you can click on that, that is how you will earn a digital badge from OSHRI for attending this session. Want to thank Sarah for her organization of this and all the hard work that you and your committee put into this. And thank you all for attending. And especially thank you everyone who served as a panelist. We appreciate your time and your willingness to share your thoughts. You got some of those questions in advance, but then also got to answer several questions from the chat. So thank you for everyone who participated in the chat and sharing questions as well. I want to remind everyone there were some slides at the beginning, but we have the OKLIS large event scheduled in March 5th and 6th. And the call for proposals went out today, and registration will open next month. So mark your calendars for March 5th and 6th. Of those days, March 5th, which is a Thursday, will be fully virtual, and March 6th will be only in person at Rose State. We would love for all of you to come. It will be a free event both days. If any of you, including the students, any of our panelists, if any of you would like to present, we would absolutely love to hear from you at that event. So again, thank you, everyone. We will also be sending out the recording for this as well as the survey on Monday. Thank you all.
Thank you again.
Can I ask you a quick question? Christella?